Hey, welcome everybody. Appreciate you coming along. Today I'm going to be staining more boards. So one thing that I thought of I'd like to talk about is business from the past. And a lot of you had asked about Chad and Dan, how we happened to get together. And well, Chad is my son. He worked with me from the time he was in grade school. Off and on, he'd do things, and then when he was in college, he would, during summers, might work with me, and then he went on to some other projects, got into law enforcement, did that for a while, and great respect for something like that. I'll tell you, that's a hard life, unthankful, sometimes occupation. Anyway, he was ready to do something different, so he had a lot of experience. And so when he called me and asked if I had a lot of work and would need help, I said, don't toy with my emotions. I was so excited to have him come along and where we could work together. And I think that was for maybe 5 or 6, 7 years, I lose track of time, that he did that. And then, and now he's gone on his own. He's doing construction. He enjoys remodeling, and so that's what he does a lot of. And he's just booked right out. He has a YouTube channel that he was doing, and it was going well, but he just, with a family and everything else, he just did not have time to put into it. So he hasn't done any more of that. So 130 of these I'm hoping to do. My stories will be over well before that. Anyway, so Dan he drove truck for a long time, tractor trailer, and was just kind of wanting to have more regular hours, I think, and be able to spend time with his family as well. So he got done doing that, and I was able to get him. I was able to get him. I was so excited about that. He was very, very helpful. Hard worker. Actually showed up when he was supposed to. Sometimes that's an issue with people. Never was with Chad and Dan. We always, well, most of the time, had a good time. Depends. Sometimes the jobs were difficult, but we'd get through it and look forward to the next project. If it was sometimes the weather wasn't cooperative or whatever. So that kind of leads me into something I'd like to talk about, and that was valuable lessons learned in contracting. So back around 1989, 1990, I started on my own doing projects, and it was a learning experience for sure, especially the estimating part. I would back then, when I was just getting started, I would go to the lumber yard, I'd have a materials list. If I was building a deck, we'll say, I would figure out the materials ahead of time, go in, get a quote on it, and go back, put all that information together, type up a proposal, and I'd meet with people, and we'd do the deck, and everything would go fine. And then, somebody asked me once, or somebody made a comment, did I ever not get paid for something? And I tried to think back, and it was only like one time in 35 years where I didn't get paid completely. So I'll talk about that a little later. I want to get back to estimating. So I had mentioned in the last video, I did an insert in the paper specializing, or a price on wallpapering a room, or building a garage, or building a deck. various projects, and they could like cut out the sort of like a coupon in the paper. And so then I got to where I was doing the garages was something that really was interesting to me. So I put, in doing an estimate for a garage, I would track it on a spreadsheet, what the costs were and so on. And it got to the point where I could really detail a lot of it. And I was finally covering my overhead and so on. But there were a few projects. So after I got enough done, and built enough, maybe 40 or 50 garages at that point, I felt confident enough. There was a trend, and it was showing that we could build a garage for a certain number of hours, and I would know how many hours, almost within 5 or 10 man hours, of how long it would take to build a garage. So I felt confident in putting a fixed price, and knowing it's a little bit hard to talk and work at the same time, isn't it? Knowing that I had covered my costs, and knowing that I could make a good value to the homeowner. So after realizing I could do it by that I knew, say, a 24 by 24 ranch, it went up from, over the years, from like $5,900 to $27,000 because of various circumstances in the economy. So I would put, so I had the spreadsheet all worked out where it cost X number of dollars per square foot. And so I started using square foot costs for the garages, and I would guarantee the price, and I would publish the price. That was pretty much how I sold. I'm not sure how many, over 500 garages I did in that 30, 35 years. And because the homeowner wanted to know, they usually had to go borrow money, and so they wanted to know how much it was going to cost without surprises. So I was able to do that. I could take the square foot cost of a 24 by 24 ranch, we'll say, it was X. So if it was going to be smaller, typically it would cost more because it takes almost as long to build a little, like a 1 car garage, 12 by 24 or 14 by 24. It takes almost the same amount of time because you still have to build 4 walls, you still have to do a roof, you have to do, all the processes are still the same. It was marginal, and the materials were less. But that was about one of the few variables was if it got smaller. So it cost more per square foot for a smaller one than it did for a larger one. And it seemed like 24 by 24 was a break point as far as if it was bigger, if it was 30 by 36, we'll say, or 48. So that would remain that same square foot cost when it got bigger, because it just worked out that way. If it was 36 feet long, you're having to walk further around. It was more, the cost just kind of stayed the same, static, if it got bigger. But when it got smaller than 24 by 24, the labor cost went up, even though materials went down. Hope that made sense. So anyway, after that I started just doing ads in the paper. Annual garage sale. I thought that was a catchy little thing. That worked well. People like that, usually because it had what was included and it had the price. usually the only question or the only concern people had was, who am I? And so I would go meet with them, and we'd sign a contract, and we'd go. And that was kind of the way that worked for 30 plus years. And then there were oddball things. I did a project once, a garage. It was a fairly big one. It was $75,000 instead of the typical $25,000 or $20,000. They wanted siding to match the house. First of all, that's a really hard thing. It was vinyl siding that they had on the house, and typically if vinyl siding has been on the house for 4 or 5 years, the color will change slightly. So to get it to match exactly is about impossible. But and I always pointed that out. It's probably not going to match exactly, but I can order the same brand, and we'll get really close to it, and that was usually good enough. Well, this one time, I did not do my homework, and I just kind of looked over it, and I said, okay, that's kind of a reddish color siding, which dark color vinyl siding is a real tough one because it'll fade in a few years, and then because the color pigment typically is not all the way through the vinyl, it's on the face. So when the sun beats on it, you lose that you lose the color, and theirs had faded some, but I looked at it and it was I forget the height. You can go, when you order vinyl siding, you can order a 4x4, 5x5, 8-inch, quite a few options. So I measured it. I did get the right size, and I just said, what I did was I based it on. I know colors are more, so I figured I added a little bit more, thinking, well, I've covered that. And so at that point, I think vinyl siding was $80 a square per 100 square feet, a 10 by 10. And so I thought, I've covered it. I'll add, I don't know, 25% because it's kind of odd. And so I think I figured $110 a square foot per 100 square feet for that vinyl siding. Whoa! So first of all, I got to go ahead to build a garage. I always honored my price, by the way. I never ever varied from that. If something ran over or ran under, that was the price. And I think that was fair. I got a reputation of having of being honest about that. So I started searching, after I got the job, I started searching for this siding. Nobody ever heard of it. I took a piece of the siding, and what I didn't know was there's insulation behind the siding, built into the panel. I had never ran into that before. So now I'm scratching my head. Fortunately, the lumber salesman was really good. I always went to him whenever I got in trouble. And so he says, I found one. No, he couldn't find one. So I went to a siding company that is a wholesaler, and showed him the sample, and they said, oh yeah, we can get you that. That's no problem. And they said it's a special order. Nobody sells that anymore. And I forget how long it was, 2 months or whatever, which was kind of not what I planned on. So they researched it, and it went on and on and on. Finally, we got to, they delivered it, and I hadn't even heard a price yet. Yeah. It was around $500 a square, per square. It was just a special siding. And if you remember, I said I had allowed $100 a square. And it was a fairly big job. I think it was 16 or 18 square on that project. It was a tough pill to swallow, but I honored it. And the people really loved the garage. That's one time you just think, man, I should have put the time in up front. So that was a really valuable lesson as far as costing out projects. Make sure you know how much the stuff costs. And that's what made it hard when the COVID thing hit. When prices just went out of sight, I was scrambling every day to keep ahead of the costs. And it came out okay. I came out all right with that. So rarely, if ever, well, yeah, rarely, let me stop at rarely, did I get a customer that was hard to deal with. Almost everybody that I had for a customer was just the nicest people. This one, right from the get-go, I just felt like, oh boy, I'm not sure I want to do this job, but I think at the time I just really, you never want to, I had a saying I always said, never sell out of weakness. You need to be able to just walk away and say, I'm sorry, I just don't think I want to do this job. I should have done that. Anyway, they had a place on a pond, small lake, that was, I'm trying to be polite about this because it was another one of life's valuable lessons. We met, and they seemed very nice and cordial, but just you ever get that feeling? And I didn't know what it was, but we came to an agreement on everything, and it came time to do the project, and I try to never use subcontractors. Nothing against them, it's just that they have their schedule and I have my schedule, and it seemed like early on it was just hard to get them to mesh. So I wouldn't take on projects like the excavation to get it ready to pour concrete, and occasionally I would hire out my concrete work and to a couple of different contractors that were really, really good. And if I was too busy, they could easily do it. So, pretty sure that one I subbed out the concrete. Okay, I have an issue. Timeout. Looks like my rack is spread just a little bit. Well, I better finish this board, right? Finish this board. I'll be right back to the story. I guess I'll stop now. Probably lose them all. Wow. Help! So I need to get this closer together. The boards are all, I don't know why it didn't bother before. can see I got some debris on that, so I'll just wipe it down. Hopefully it's that easy. And I'll just run over it with a brush again. There. Okay, I'm back to where I was before. So the job was, had foam insulation under the slab. We put that down and the formwork, and then they came and poured the concrete. Got that all done. They were okay with that. And then we got to where we panelized walls ahead of time in the shop, and then we would bring them and put them up on the job site. And we had, I think, 2 of the walls up. And she came out and lit right into me. Those walls are crooked. This is going to be a piece of junk. And blah, blah, blah. And so I had to explain. I said, we're just setting the walls. We'll plumb them all and get them all level when they're done. Oh, okay. And so she went back in the house, and we continued on, and we did get the walls all plumbed. And mind you, she's in the house. We'll say that this is the building. She's over here, and she came out again, just all upset. Those walls are crooked. They're not even straight. They look awful. You can't see from here what that looks like. And so, I mean, that's the first day for us on the job site. And I'm thinking, oh, man. And it was like that the entire job. And I had to keep reassuring her that it would be right. And I even went, at the time I had a pontoon boat, and went so far as to invite her out on the boat with us. We were having lunch, and so we were near a body of water, so we took that out and just relaxed. And she was fine. She was just nice as could be, but it was that constant all the way through. We got it all done. They were going to supply the garage doors, which was fine. I didn't mind that. And this is when I knew I wasn't going to get my final amount, because he gave me a story of, I can't pay you right now because I've got to pay for the garage doors. Was that not in your budget, you know? I didn't say anything. Anyway, he promised me, I think, within a month he'd have the money for that. And I never saw it, never got the money. At the time, I think it was $1,200 for the 2 doors. And I just wanted to be done with that project. And that was the only one that ever left a sour taste. There may have been others. My memory is getting shorter. Anyway, that was that one. Oh, when I was out there on the pontoon boat, a funny story. I'm putting along, just minding my own business, and out of the corner of my eye, somehow, I saw this bumblebee. We're out in the middle of a body of water, and it came right over and stung me on my shoulder. Just out of nowhere. What the world? And bumblebees sting. Yeah, they do. There are hundreds of stories about building projects. Each one has its own unique little story. I was thinking of one where we're coming into wintertime. We did a project half an hour, 45 minutes from here for Ed and Deb. You know who you are. They were just super people. We we built a garage. We were going to build a garage for them. We did, and it was getting late into the season, and we got over there. After we got through everything, they had some holdups, but they were trying as hard as they could to make it happen. And we got there. I think we finished the job in January, and we had days. They'd I built an insulated box for the air compressor because it kept freezing up, and at times we would keep it in the garage at their other garage that was heated, and it was cold. I did some YouTube videos of it, and in order to run the camera, it had to be in my truck with the heat on because it would kill the camera. But we got it. And the thing was, I think I gained some weight while I was there. They gave us lunch and coffee for coffee break every single day that we were there. And they had spectacular views of the White Mountain Range from their house. It was such it was just fun. I really enjoyed it. It was just a blast. And it was well worth being cold and frozen to the bone. Great people. There's a lot of stories like that just made contracting fun. Typically with garages, we'd be a week or two on a job site. So we'd move around quite a bit, always new scenery. Really enjoyed that. So blah, blah, blah. I'm almost done. There'll be 66 of these boards once I've got them all done. That's how many this rack will hold of these. I'll let these dry. Probably it'll be overnight. And then I'll probably do another batch of them, so I have a lot of them done, so I don't have to stop back and forth. Okay, hope you enjoyed this little chit chat. There are thousands. If I've told you once, I've told you a million times. Don't exaggerate, right? There are a lot of stories, hundreds of stories for sure. Over 500 garages, I built 65 houses. 20, 30, 40, 50 decks. I don't know how many hundreds of roofs we did back when we were doing a lot of roofing, stripping them and re-roofing it. But anyway, thanks for watching. Have a great day. Thanks. Let's see. Okay. Comment, like, subscribe, tap the bell, share. I think I got it all in one sentence. See you later.